The auctioneer's been busy here, the farmer's well ran dry. The weak are gone, the strong hang on, just barely getting by. Well, hard times have hit my heartland hard, it went from boom to bust. About all that's left down here is dust and rust. Dust and Rust, which is what this is about, is a result of a trip that I made out to eastern Colorado. I worked on a farm during my college days, and I hadn't been back for a long time. Moved away, and you know how life goes on, and oftentimes you don't go back. My dad was actually a minister, and so he took a church out there, and that's why we were there. And of course, ministers are often like people in the military, they move around a lot. We were there for my entire time that I went to college, but when I went back, things were different. A lot of boarded up stores. It's amazing how if you came to a place like Durango, where I live now, and if you hadn't been here for 20 years, you wouldn't recognize the place because it's just so overgrown. Just the influx of people and money. All the towns, the pretty towns in the mountains have just blown up. If you go out to eastern Colorado or western Kansas to the farmland, it's completely different. Things have kind of stayed still or even gone backwards. You see a lot of abandoned farmhouses and boarded up windows in the towns and stuff, so it's kind of sad. But there is a hardcore group of people, and these are some of the salt of the earth people that make this country what it is, and they'll never give up. They were generational farmers, and they love farming, and they stick around, and they're not going to move out. But you don't get people from out of town moving into those communities very often because there's not much to move in for, unless like maybe you're a doctor, they open up a hospital or somebody and they need people from out of town. So it's a whole different situation out there than it is here. And there's just some observations in this song. It says, amber waves of grain that stretched as far as you could see, replaced by worthless fields of brush that they call CRP. A lot of people don't know this, but there's this program called the Conservation Reserve Program, I believe is the correct name for it, CRP. Some of the farmers call it the Crop Reduction Program, where the government actually pays farmers not to grow crops. And I know there's economic reasons and stuff, but it just seems insane to not let the farmers grow and produce food, because it's one of the things that this country does better than any country on the face of the earth. We have the greatest farmers on the face of the earth. Why in the world would you pay them to leave their fields fallow and not raise any crops? It seems ridiculous, but it's good for pheasant hunting, but you see all these fields are nothing but brush, and it seems ridiculous, and one of the things that kind of stuck in my mind when I saw it. I also like the second verse that said, when I hit Maine, the stores were boarded up and all shut down. The place looked like a ghost town. Even ghosts won't hang around. It's been a long time since that diner served up any pie. The old drive-in was choked with weeds standing 4 foot high. Things they just don't look the same. And I remember my grandfather, he used to, every day he would take his cane, he'd walk down the street and he'd go to the restaurant whenever weather permitted, and that restaurant was no longer a restaurant. And so that's the song. It's just images of things like that. And so I put all those images into my head and worked out some of the details, but I didn't have a title for the song, and the title Dust and Rust. Sometimes guys that write songs ask me questions like, where do you get your titles from? You know, titles are all over the place. You just have to kind of pay attention and spot them when they're in front of you. And you know, it helps to read books and watch movies and stuff. You pick up lines and stuff. That's where a lot of songs come from. Somebody hears a line in a movie and stuff, and this particular song is no different. I was actually watching the movie Deliverance, which of course I do not recommend. If you've seen the movie, I do not recommend you watch that movie with your kids for obvious reasons. But and one of the actors, I think it was Ned Beatty, pointed to an old rusted out car, and he said, that used to be me on Saturday night. He said something like, now it's nothing but dust and rust. And that really kind of summarized to me what I was looking for a title for that song. So this was a song that actually was kind of written before I got the title, and it kind of went backwards. But anyway, that's Dust and Rust. It's one of my favorite tracks off the Altitude CD. I think it's the 3rd track on Altitude, and again, there's a lot of people that appreciate this song. I get a lot of feedback on it, particularly people who understand, who've lived out there and have experienced that life and kind of know what's going on. So that's Dust and Rust. Tune in again next week and we'll come up with another one.
When I got there, I stopped and stared and frowned and shook my head. There were dying trees, waist-high weeds, farmhouses left for dead. Amber waves of grain that stretched as far CRP.